Have you ever wondered how the Bahraini dictatorship has managed to survive for nearly 50 years on the shakiest foundations imaginable? After all, the ruling Al-Khalifa family and its cohorts are Sunnis, whilst the majority of the island nation's population of nearly 1.6 million people are Shia Muslims. Moreover, significant chunks of Bahrain's security apparatus are comprised of foreigners, mostly of South Asian backgrounds. Built on shaky foundations and detested by the majority of its people, the Bahraini regime is mostly reliant on its former colonial master, the United Kingdom, for protection and strategic direction.
الحادث اللي حدث مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.
But definitely we could see many consultants and advisory British are enrolled in many departments and offices in Bahrain.
This massive dependence came into sharp relief during Bahrain's thwarted revolution when on the 9th of March 2011, just days before the security forces began a violent crackdown, the UK's then Chief of the Defence Staff was in Manama advising Prince Salman, King Hamad's oldest son, on the best ways to defeat the revolution. The advice offered by General Sir David Richards, in addition to the then UK National Security Advisor Peter Ricketts, coupled with the Saudi military intervention, proved decisive in sabotaging Bahrain's revolution, which for a few heady days in March 2011 posed a mortal threat to the Al-Khalifa dictatorship. In keeping with British military tradition, where retired senior military officers take up lucrative private consulting positions, Richards positioned himself as an advisor to King Hamad upon retiring from the British Army in 2013. It seems the spirit and example of Charles Belgrave continues to cast a long shadow on the close relationship between the British and Bahraini regimes. In practical terms, Richards uses two private companies, Palliser Associates Ltd. and Equilibrium Gulf Ltd., to manage his murky relationship with King Hamad. By all credible accounts, Richards, who now styles himself as Lord Richards of Herstmonceux following the acquisition of a live peerage in 2014, is at the center of an intricate web of influence, which facilitates the transfer of advice and support from key nodes of the British establishment to the Bahraini regime. In view of his former military role as Chief of the Defense Staff, the highest rank in the British Armed Forces, Richards is in the best position to accommodate Bahrain's defense needs in consultation with the senior British military officers. Richards is also intimately connected to British royalty through his personal connection to the monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Indeed, the former chief of the defense staff served as the Queen's personal assistant in an informal capacity between 2008 and 2014. Using his unique position, Richards has facilitated a close bond between King Hamad and Queen Elizabeth, to the extent that the British monarch has arguably socialized with Hamad more than any other head of state. The two meet regularly, most recently in May 2019 during Hamad's visit to the UK. Beyond royalty and the military, Richards also brings in a third dimension to his advisory and influence operation with the Bahraini regime. Through his consulting business, Richards is connected to a ring of former Secret Intelligence Service, better known as MI6 officers, who, like him, are interested in making big money by exploiting their credentials and connections. Richards' most important connection in this sphere is one Jeffrey Tanton, a former MI6 controller for the West Asia region. Like Richards, Tanton personally advises King Hamad, presumably focusing on security issues and helping the Bahrainis develop their fledgling intelligence service. While there is little doubt that stalwart British establishment figures like Richards and Tanton dominate the UK's relationship with the Bahraini regime, the full extent of the relationship is much wider and deeper. At an official level, key British institutions have their own bespoke arrangements with their Bahraini counterparts. One of the most notorious arrangements, and one that is central to the ongoing human rights abuses in Bahrain, involves the UK's College of Policing and Bahrain's Interior Ministry. Styled as an agreement for the provision of services and signed in June 2015, the contract obliges the UK's College of Policing to provide training to Bahraini police and other security forces. There is nothing in this agreement that touches upon the issue of human rights, and the pertinent fact that Bahraini police and security forces have been at the forefront of brutally suppressing protesters. Indeed, the British establishment appears to be more than happy to turn a blind eye to human rights abuses in Bahrain, just as long as London gets to keep a client state in Manama.
Unfortunately, Britain chosen to be with these tyrant governments in the region and mainly Bahrain. We could see their negative role during the uprising in 2011 and even later on when there was a demand for reform within Bahrain. Britain adopted what they call it a long-run reform, which they plan to be in a position to train and inhabit many of governmental agencies, and part of it was the judiciary and so on. When we could see in many international conventions and part of it human rights councils that Britain is defending so strongly the views of Bahraini governments, and rarely we could hear any type of the condemnation of the Britain authorities to all these atrocities, discrimination and persecutions of Bahrainis in large.
As part of this relationship, not only do key individuals like Richards and Tanton enrich themselves beyond their wildest dreams, but more importantly, Britain gets to maintain a military foothold in the Persian Gulf. In the next episode, we'll take a look at the impact of British police training on the deteriorating human rights situation in Bahrain, in addition to how the UK shapes Bahrain's foreign policy.
والله أنهم يقاتلون وعليهم على جزيرة العرب